closure, psychologically, is very important to anybody. To his son, to his wife, to his brothers, and even to his friends. Closure is of utmost importance.
Today you're here to speak on behalf of the family,
Yeah.
Because his wife and his son cannot be here. Walk me through what eventually became the reason why we're here today.
After elections of 81, on the opening of Parliament in the evening, that's when my brother was taken. The following morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, Anna came knocking on our door. And I was pretty sure that if he didn't turn up by 12 o'clock, he would never turn up. His wife remained optimistic, but I wasn't optimistic.
But what made you think that? You obviously knew something. What made you think that? Was there something he used to tell you?
In his body language, he wasn't at ease. There was something troubling him. In fact, several years later, we came to know that 1 month or 2 months before the elections of 81, there was a very, very hot meeting between the new millionaires of Laurisant at the offices of Joe Podge, and he was threatened there. When he got missing, his wife told us that he doubled his insurance, that he used to hear footsteps on the roof.
3 years passed, right, between him going missing and eventually his body being found. How were those 3 years?
In the first few months, we used to go to the depot, my wife and I, to try and contact or make some contact with the police. But there was never any answers. Things were not going well and there was impunity all over.
What about your parents back then?
When the church newspaper, Gens, published an article about Lino, and his son was about 5 years old, there were 2 separate photos on the front page, I believe, of Lino and Paolo near each other. My mother had cataract, and she thought it was one photo. And she took the shock of her life. She said, "My son has found his son." Within 36 hours, we were burying her. The photo gave her hope, eh?
Okay, and then at some point someone told her the truth?
There and then, eh?
There and then, and that is when she passed away a bit later?
Yeah, within hours.
Okay. I know that you've said this before, but as a family, I'm talking about Lino's wife and son, this was obviously had a lot of repercussions on them, apart from the loss of a husband and a father. Can you walk me through this, how it was for them through your eyes?
Once Lino got missing, Anna went to live with her parents. In fact, when the police came for her to arrest her, they deceived her. She told them, "You have news about Lino? You have news about..." "Yes, come in the car." And they arrested her and threw her in the cell, and they told her, "Talk to the Times again now." And the message she said to the Times was so innocent. The message was, "Please give me back, send him back home," just that. And they arrested her for 9 hours.
But his wife was hopeful deep
His
down.
wife was hopeful for several years, till we made the funeral.
How did this affect the child, Paolo? This whole story, was he aware from the beginning, or is it something that he learned as he grew older?
The case was so tragic that it was impossible not to speak about it 24/7, eh? And he must have overheard God knows what. Everybody was throwing missiles at him at a tender age, vulnerable age, and he feels lost more than anger. He is a bit, he's...
During those years, as the family, did you feel like enough was being done?
We looked forward to a change in government to try and think that something might change, but nothing changed.
Now, as we know, recently we've had the constitutional judgment basically acknowledging that the system failed. There was a compensation. It was one of the highest ever given, if not the highest, correct me?
The highest.
Yes.
Right.
You hear people out there talking, is this enough? You know, I don't know if you have thoughts about that.
I don't think much about compensation. What matters to me is the diction used by the lawyer, by the judge, in sentencing, the reasons why it took 41 years. And he referred to various governments, not just the government of the 80s, various governments who didn't do enough.
And you want them to reevaluate the evidence right now?
There are some people who might be able, there's definitely 2, 3, 4, 5 people who know a lot of, who have information.
Do you believe that it is possible to solve the murder of your brother?
It's probably wishful thinking, but at least if somebody tries, because when Scotland Yard was here, they were kicked out of the country after 4 months delving into Ken Greg's murder, and they were just starting looking into Lino's murder. They were kicked out. Please go home. And they told us, they're kicking us out.
Do you have suspicions of who could have been involved?
As the arrests implicate, in 2010 were people close to Loresan.
If you had to pass on a message to anyone out there who might know something, why should they speak up now? Why rock the boat now?
It's not in their interest, because they might lose the millions they have accumulated. Probably the court might take their million. So, they're not going to speak. But others might make them speak, or try to corner them at least. And if they are cornered, they might speak.
Why is it important that it's solved even though so many years passed?
I think it will help with the closure. Closure, psychologically, is very important to anybody. To his son, to his wife, to his brothers, and even to his friends. Closure is of utmost importance. We don't want vengeance, we just justice, and it's always a lesson to the others who are thinking about or planning to do something which they shouldn't do.
today you are speaking to me, but you're choosing not to show your face. I'd like you to explain why.
We wouldn't like to be reminded every day, every second, every time we're out, or being looked at when having a cup of tea. Look, there is Joe, there is the one who was on television or in the newspaper.
Did you get that throughout the years?
At the beginning, yes. But then people started forgetting about what has happened. We wouldn't like to have that,
Yes.
the experience of the first few years. We wouldn't like to go through that experience because it wasn't comfortable, to put it mildly. It wasn't comfortable at all.